I'm live, but once again, um, I am um, live. So yeah, it sucks because this the audio and the video is still delayed. Um, I don't think what I'm gonna do after I get it with this live stream is I'm going to fool around with OBS Studio software and see if I can fix the audio and video latency. And I might just start streaming through OBS Studio. So um anyhow, the topic is recording and mixing techniques for tonight. So I'm probably not going to be here. I'm not going to be on here. Not going to be on here very long. Uh, so I'm gonna try to make this a short. I'm gonna try to keep it short. A lot of times when people start chiming in, it tends to get very long-winded. So anyhow, I hope everyone is getting ready for a prepare for their upcoming Christmas, since Christmas will be in a week and a half. So, welcome, Maddie, to Two Hats Music. Hey, how's it going? My week is good. Um, I'm exhausted. Got a lot going on. Um, so I want to talk about recording and mixing technique. I was going to talk about. I hope people got a chance to see my video on the why artists are broke. I was watching a lot of those videos tend to be popping up on YouTube lately. I don't know if it's YouTube video feed is all dependent on what you watch, and they try to filter in more videos based on what you're watching. It's their algorithm going on. And lately, I've been watching a lot of videos on the music industry and so forth. And I guess for me, a lot of videos that have been popping up has been about why artists are broken. And I had to make it, people are making videos like this is something new. Master P, who became Daniel billionaire, he's even getting out of the music industry. He says there's just no money in it. Well, I knew that was going to be I knew that was going to kind of happen. One of the things that was killing the music industry was when people were able to download. We're talking in the beginning of 2000 when BearShare and Napster and all these pirating downloading companies made it easy for people to be able to get music. And now with so much music just uploaded to YouTube, it's kind of like, well, people like, well, why do I need to buy music? I can go to YouTube and watch videos or listen to it. So anyhow, welcome CC Funk. Oh, happy birthday. Happy birthday. Um, so you made it another year. Hope you have many more. Um, so what is that? Um, so I hope people got a chance to watch that video on why artists are broke. Um, maybe some people probably don't understand how it works. I'm gonna talk about recording and mixing and recording techniques here quickly soon. Um, but because artists, I just want to talk about this right quick. Artists, 90% of them, not everybody, but 90% of most artists that get to sign a record deal, sign a recording contract. That's exactly what it is. It's a recording contract. You're contracted. You sign an obligated contract to record music for a label. That ought to be the key thing right there. I got a recording deal. The deal is it's the negotiation of the contract that you're going to sign. That's a deal. Usually, most deals don't work in the artist's favor. But once again, we all get, when we watch a lot of celebrities on TV, we see, the red carpet treatment, we see artists at the Grammys, the American Music Awards, the MTV Awards, all these award shows. You see artists, sometimes you'll see artists You might see artists known to have all these nice, glamorous clothes and so forth. And naturally, anyone would, they might be living in a nice 4, 5, 6, 8 bedroom mansion, $1 million home or whatever. We immediately associate with people like that to be rich. It's laughing because you'd be amazed how so many people will go to Prasad to make you think they're rich. And there are celebrities that there are celebrities that are actually rich. Like Janet Jackson actually has money. Okay, that ain't the case for but Janet Jackson, because of the huge success of her brother, and and what I'm saying, but all of her siblings don't have as much money like when Michael Jackson was alive, or when a lot of them don't have. And of course, Janet Jackson was also starting doing some movies. She also did, when she was a kid, she did TV appearances like on Good Times. So, but anyhow, to make a long story short, the lifestyle, it's expensive to live rich. And most of us don't know that. So we never came up. You come up in the average lifestyle where you were, most people work a 9 to 5 job or whatever the case, don't realize your property tax is probably about as, a $10 million home. Your property tax is about as much as someone's annual salary. That's just the property tax. Because if you don't pay that, of course, they're going to take the property. All these expenses and costs. So it's expensive. So yes, artists, and most artists realize that when they don't own their master recordings, their masters, they don't own the rights to, because a lot of artists don't write their own songs. A lot of artists just record music for labels because they're obligated. So and they get with producers, whatever, and they make the sound recordings. And yeah, the stuff is on the radio and everything else and the whole picture. But they don't realize if you don't own the rights, you're not the songwriter. Every time the song is played, the music, BMI and ASCAP pays the songwriters and the publishing company. So anyhow, make a long story short, Matthew has said that is a great video with I am explain how music was always a lost leader and always meant to sell other things like instruments, concerts. But it's kind of like how did artists get paid? I know I think it might have been DL. Somebody been asking, well, how do you make money at this? Or how do artists make money? Merchandise and concert sales. And they also got their money from doing guest appearances on TV shows. They got their money from doing radio interviews and things like that. Welcome, DL. I just mentioned you. And welcome, Steve Burke. So how did artists? That's how they got paid. Because artists never made money. Because it was a point system. So an artist would get 2, maybe 3, 4, 5 points. A point means a percentage. 1 point was like 8.1% of the total profits. Is a 1 point. So if you got 3 point, 4.5, whatever case, some artists, they can negotiate contract 10 points or whatever. That's the percentage of the total amount of sales, because the record labels, they will use the justification. Well, the record label has a publishing department, a publicity department, A&R section, artist development, all these things that, so all the revenue that's coming from the record sales went to the label. So the artist would get maybe 3%, but then 3 points or whatever, but then they have to pay, producers, road managers, and all that. And everything else that there was advanced from the label is recoupable, or including all the silly stuff like, we're going to recoup how much food you were eating a day or whatever. This is how bad labels could have gotten. So anyhow, so yeah, it's always, labels is always. And so now the gatekeepers was the only way you could get famous was to get a record deal. It was hard to do as an independent artist because most independent artists, independent labels didn't have the money to push distribution and everything else. But Now that you got the internet and you got there's DistroKid and 1RPM and CD Baby and so many outlets with the internet and streaming and with streaming and Spotify and YouTube. It's like I don't really need a record label no more because you can blow up so many other ways now. The old way was you need a record label so they can get you on the radio and you make videos and they get you on MTV or BET. That was the only way you could be heard. So yes. Welcome as I got more people tuning in. Yeah, it's kind of like whoever builds the structure control. It's like when you think about it, it's like anything else. It's like the company, like the owner of the company. You know, if it's $1 billion company, or he's a billionaire because he got a multi-billion-dollar business. Yeah. So he's gonna determine how much he want to pay his employees, So deals at per diem is good. Yeah, it's the touring. I would say out of all of it for the music industry, the touring for most artists is the most expensive because of the cost to travel, the cost to do the shows, the cost of the sound crews, the security, paying the band, and paying the choreographers, and doing this. And a lot of times they'll do a show, let's say it's in Dallas. The next day they got to be in Houston, so they got to tear down and travel almost 4 hours down to Houston. Then let's say the next show might be in San Antonio, which is another 3 hours away, and then they might have a day break to travel to Phoenix, Arizona. Then they might do a show there, and then they might have to travel another day or so to do a show in Los Angeles. And then they had to tear down and do another show. Or there might be 2 or 3 shows in Los Angeles, but at 3 different venues. It just goes on and on and on and on. So that cost, the touring. But a lot of times when they do these tours, the artists can make money because they'll have their merch they can sell, t-shirts, posters. They'll do radio interviews before they do this show. The show and to do a live show it's a lot that takes to do a live show. The sound crews, the sound check, getting the lights, setting everything up, the entrances, the exit, depends on how the extreme the show is, what kind of stage it is, the stage props. If it's going to be camera, it's going to be filmed. It's a whole that whole is a whole beast by itself. And sometimes the artists have their own traveling sound crew. Sometimes the road manager might coordinate different sound companies based on, the rent sound companies. So where they don't have to worry about having a sound crew traveling with them. But all that costs the artist. So, yep. Oh yeah. See, yes, he said, let me see. I missed some comments. Let's see. Even will.i.am said he has seen no YouTube money. The label keeps it up. Well, that's the thing with will.i.am. And when you're an artist like that, that's on a contract, whether it's a 50-50 or whatever kind of deal, most of these contracts they're trying to do now are 360 deals. That artist, the label's getting their hands on everything. Because labels are desperate. Their labels are on survival mode right now. They are on what do you call it? Critical condition. Labels are on critical condition survival mode because labels, you don't really need a label. Even though a label, even to this day, can still get you marketed faster than being an independent. They still can because the radio stuff like that still exists. And what I mean by that is if I'm on YouTube, the only way I can get noticed is if people click on the video and watch the video. So if you get your stuff on the radio in Houston, only people in the Houston area can hear it. And that's if they're tuned into that radio station. If they're not tuned in that radio station, they're not going to hear it. So to get you on as many radio stations as possible, to get your stuff reached out to as many people as possible was the idea. And the most popular radio stations were harder to get on than, you know. So, but anyhow, and we talk about what they call terrestrial radio. So, but if you are your own independent artist and you're not signed to a contract, you don't have to worry about, your YouTube money going to label or your Spotify streams going to label. All your revenue will go to you. That's why I always say it's better to be independent. I put it like this. If I was an artist, I would rather make $100,000, even though and that's it, than to have made $100,000 because the label took the other 900,000. If I'm, in other words, what I'm saying, if the song made $1 million and I only got 100,000 of it, you get what I'm saying? That's 10% of it, and that's actually a lot for an artist. I would rather make $100,000 than to give the other 900,000 away. So if I made $1 million and I'm not with a label, I made $1 million. If that makes sense. So let's see. Yeah, these people have to be. Yeah, there's a lot of people, and a lot of people have to be paid. A lot of people. So it says, "Do I have an entertainment lawyer?" I actually do not. There are a lot out there. The reason why I don't, because I'm not pushing any artists or anything right now. And if I was, if I had a production, a publishing deal, record deal, or whatever, even as a producer, I would get a lawyer. But I'm not dealing with any labels. So the thing is, when you understand copyright and everything else, I had to talk about the lawyer thing later on. But anyhow, so somebody told me P-Funk was getting $250. Yeah, they probably are. Parliament Funkadelic probably is getting 200. They can probably do that based on their, their popularity. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, labels are good if you want to get big quickly, but it's a catch-22. I would rather be on my own independent and do it slowly than to worry about being on the contract. So, and you got to be careful with entertainment lawyers too, because a lot of entertainment lawyers will work in the favor, make it look like they're working for the artist, but be in cahoots with the label. And they'll say, "Oh yes, look, can you look up this contract and see if it's a good contract?" And it's a good contract, because the label, they're going to get some pushback from the label to get these artists to sign, especially if they're a high, like a Chris Brown or an Usher or something like that. You're talking a high, an artist that they know there's going to be potential like that. Yeah, they're going to, yeah. But you got to watch out with entertainment labels. I said we all got to change. Hopefully we'll move them. Yeah, that's the thing now. Everyone's trying to push themselves to be independent, because there's a lot, because and like I said, with labels, their justification was risk. We're going to give you only a small amount because we're taking the risk. Music is a risk anyway. You can make a song, and this happened even with artists that are already signed with contracts on labels. They went in the studio and made songs that didn't, they flopped. Happens all the time, even to some of the biggest names like every song that Stevie Wonder made. Not everyone liked every song Stevie Wonder's made. Not everyone liked everyone's song that's Mariah Carey's made. Even though the label, the A&R, and all them people thought it's going to be a slam song, but then they, and they'd be amazed. It's kind of like the group Intro, their first album, their debut album. I mean, they went double platinum. Then their second album didn't do well at all. I thought the album was a nice album, but they didn't do production to give it that oomph like they did their first album. So, Max, you said the only way is, if you stay independent and you know the game and understand the business, understand copyright law and all this other stuff, yeah. So I didn't. That's why I didn't want to get too long winded on that because the topic was recording and mixing techniques for the subject. But I did want to talk about it just a hair bit, simply because I hope people watch that video on how artists are broke. Most artists, like I said, when you don't own if you don't own your rights, you own your you don't own the masters, you don't own the publishing like that. The only way you can make your money is to tour. Because once you make a song, it can be used in so many different ways. And the labels know this. That's why they have you sign a contract signing over your rights. You sign your rights to the label, and because they know if you make a song, that song, you get a sync license and use it in games. You get a mechanical license, so that way it can be mass produced. You get a performance license, that way it can be performed on the radio and live in concert. Y'all get what I'm saying? So the publishing is the huge thing. Yeah, I can get that song synced to movies, commercials. And every time you get when people, it's like anything else, when you get a license, it's almost like a car. And you register your license, right? You register, it's like anything else. The car, you can buy a car, but you're buying a license to use the car to use it on road. That's plates and tags, right? The same thing we're doing. It's like the same thing when you buy software, plugins. You're actually buying a license to be able to use the software and the plugins, even though you can download the software. But the minute, it's like if you get some software, and instead of some software, you buy it and you own it. But in a lot of cases, that's why some software says requires a license. You download it and you have to use the license or it won't activate it. It won't work. They do this on purpose. It's kind of like I'm gonna download some software and all of a sudden they'll put this every 20 seconds. Like I say, you get a plug-in every 20 seconds because you don't have the license to deactivate that little annoying. It do that every 20 seconds. They put that in on purpose. So you buy the license, it is embedded in the coding. Unless you know coding. Now, if you're good at coding and you know JavaScript and all this other stuff, yeah, you can go into coding. You can remove that. Go in there and I'm just gonna go into software and I'm gonna take that little out. People that are really good at programming know how to do that. But the average person, like me, I'm not a coder. So I don't know how to do that kind of stuff. So yeah, I just buy the license that way and get rid of that annoying or a lot of times some programs won't even let it work unless you pay for the license. They don't unlock the software. So yeah, let's say welcome Christopher. Christopher? What's my take on the Luther Vandross Christmas album? I love that album. It's a nice album. I don't like every song on it. So, but I listen to it. I have probably about 10 artists that I love. I love their Christmas song arrangement. And since you mentioned that, the artist that I'm working with, named Wanda J, the songs that we did are now they're uploaded. So they're going to be they're hitting all the streaming sites, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Amazon, iTunes, Apple Music, and all this stuff. So it will be out. Her name was Wanda J. The Christmas album that we're doing, I'm uploading all the songs so they can be distributed. Yes, you can buy them. They're going to be 99 cents each. Or if you have Spotify or Pandora, you can listen to them. So we're finally putting it out. Yeah, let's see. Let me see. Deal says the first album was amazing. It only had a few songs that were good. Then the lead. Yeah, oh yeah. Let me see. Matthew, let me see. Oh, Matthew said any music in the music is hard earned with no guarantee. Yeah, that's just artists. Even when the record labels were making big in this, we're talking 99, 98. We're talking in the 90s and earlier when record labels were making big money, and yet mega stars or big money making stars like Stevie Wonder, bands like U2, Rolling Stones, AC/DC, Van Halen, uh, big country stars back in the 90s. We're talking the days of Shania Twain and so forth, and Miley Cyrus's dad, Achy Breaky Heart. And we're just talking the music industry, all the big bands, Earth, Wind and Fire, and all that. Most artists, when they had a contract, didn't have to worry about making a whole lot of money through the label, because they knew they were going to make music it was on the radio. It was on the radio, and it was on pretty much most radio stations across the United States and overseas. And on top of that, which allowed everyone was hearing them, all the big bands and groups and artists out there, SWV, and so forth, TLC. So record labels worked that way, but the artists knew that they were going to be on the road touring. And then they made their money from the touring, then anything else, they didn't have to worry about taking it. As they got more and more successful, and they start winning, more and more gold and platinum albums, they didn't have to take as much as advance to pay for the next recording session, because recording studios were super expensive. Super expensive back in the day. So, all right. So, this is what I know what VSTs you're yeah. Yeah, that's like, it's kind of, there's quite a few that just annoy you. Buy them, as some of them, VSTs you plug and you load them up, you don't get the license, you can use, or what they'll do is they will not the plugin itself. Some plugins you can use it, but the minute you turn off the software, the plugin's gone, or they got they have slick ways to make you pay for the license. So they sure do. So what's up, Pedro? They Brazil. Okay, from Brazil. Okay. I actually have a couple of interfaces. I have the Antelope Orion. It's the Gen 3. And eventually I'm probably gonna upgrade to the Gen 4, even though the converters are the same. Usually the only really big significant difference between the Antelope Orion Gen 3 and the Gen 4 is the patch-based system. So anyone that's familiar with an Antelope Orion interface, the most confusing part is when you open up the screen and you'll see all the input sections and the output sections, and it'll say, okay, and you have to select which inputs and which outputs. My Marketing Unicorn, my Motus, which I have Marketing Unicorn, I have the 24 AI and the 25 AO, is the same way. You have to set up the routing. If you understand the routing, what inputs that's coming into the interface, where they're supposed to go, most of them you're going to send to your computer. So I'm going to select, and your input source is going to be most of the time either Thunderbolt or USB point, USB 2, maybe USB 3, whatever the case. So you select those on your settings, and then your outputs is going to come from the interface. How do you want it to route out? Do you want it to go like me? I have the analog outputs 1 through 24 of my analog. I have those set as analog. I can't speak. Analog outs, because the outputs of that interface is going into my console. So they come, but it's via my patch bay, because I route everything through the patch bay, because that's how I get all my gear signal into the console so I can hear it. So it's coming out of my interface through the patch bay as an analog out through the patch bay system in Antelope software into the console. And that's how I'm able to hear through the console. So that's how I got that set up. Same thing with my Marketing Unicorn for my setup downstairs. Same thing. I have Marketing Unicorn. But those are the interfaces that I use, Motus and the Antelope Orion. So Pedro, you said I've been considering the Antelope Orion. Let me tell you, that's a stellar, awesome interface. The converters on there are top notch. Antelope Orion. If you go with the Antelope Orion, you're in the big boys club. That's all I can say. Uh, excuse me. Um, oh, thanks, Stewie. Thanks, Stewie. Said for the lights. Appreciate everyone tuning in. So get the lights up. So I was going to talk about recording. I want to talk about recording and mixing techniques. Um, I would say, as far as I consider myself to be a pretty good recorder when it comes to recording music, because I do all my own music. I am not the most stellar mixing engineer because I don't think outside the box like some of these other mixing engineers. Um, some of these mixing engineers, I'm letting the big names out there. You got Sylvia Massey is probably the most out of the box thinking mixer out there because she's thinking of every little possible thing she can do to make something sound unique. Like she'll take a telephone and put it in a microwave just to get a unique sound. And then there's other mixing engineers that are really good at using all the tools that come in your whether it's a VST or outboard unit. You know, like I would say my Yamaha Rev 7, it's got 64 different settings on it. And you hear some of the big names like Andy Wallace and so forth. Love the Yamaha, like especially the Yamaha SPX 90. I have two Yamaha SPX 90s. And there are reverb and certain processing sounds that they love, and they'll mix those in on certain, maybe a chorus or a breakdown or something like that. They might have a chorus flange sound to put on a snare drum for the 8 bars of the breakdown. I don't think that it's like, oh, let me listen to these. A lot of times I'll just pick some hall reverb, some chords, maybe some ping pong delays to put on vocals. I gotta bring my mixing skills up. I gotta start practicing some more in the mixing. But some people really think like that. I'll tell you one thing that I learned if you're working in your DAW, and I'm gonna read some more comments in a second. I'll read some more comments in a second. I learned this trick, and it works well. Let's say you're working in your DAW. I don't care if it's FL Studio, Reason, Ableton Live, or whatever. Some mixing engineers, what they'll do is, let's say you want your vocals to sound like a telephone, right? A telephone. Or you want this flangey chorus effect or this doubler effect. What they'll do is they'll take a section of that vocals, put it on another track, and they'll insert that effect, like that delay or that chorus, on that for that particular part of the song. So when that part of the song hits, those effects on that insert on that will make the vocal sound like you want it to sound with your whatever adjustments. And then you can go back, to do your other track with the vocals on the other track. So that's one way you can do some unique things you can do in your DAW. It's really hard to do that on a fixed console because, like in your DAW, you can have 100 tracks. But if you're on a console, you're only limited to how many channels you got on your console. So if you only got 32 channels, you're running out of real estate. Anyhow, thanks, Pedro. Say I ain't gonna say I'm the best. I just try to, but I appreciate that. Oh, you're right. Sound Stu says I want a Lynx Aurora, but it's double. Yeah. And there is the Antelope Galaxy. If you got some, if some big money, it's kind of like my marketing. I got the A96 HD units down here. I use those. Those are for my Mac, my Mac over here. But that's those when you start getting those high end. But if you want, I would say, and I'm not knocking if someone has, like, let's say they got an Audient, 2-channel Audient, or they just came out with the new UAD, the new UAD, which is maybe whatever, I think it's coming out 1,000 or whatever. There's nothing wrong with those interfaces. But for me, I chose the Antelope because I want to have enough outputs so I can mix through the console. Because I use outboard gear mostly. I do use plugins, but I do mostly outboard gear. And some people might say, "Why do you use a lot of outboard?" It's hard to beat the electronics of the gear compared to the plugins. Even the plugins The plugins are actually really, really good, but something I would say that. Oh, Christopher says, you have a question. I have an iPad 5 mini and an iPhone. How do I get the audio from these devices to record into my clone system, the cassette tape part? I don't know. I don't know. I've never done it that way, so I don't have an answer. You might have to somebody in this day and age, somebody on YouTube has done that. So I always tell people like that, YouTube University. So so anyhow, so let me see. Okay, gotcha. Let's see. Deal says a tape adapter. Possibly, yeah. So speaking of tape adapter, I bought this and I haven't got a chance to do this yet. This is supposed to be able to take all my cassettes. It's got a USB, so I can start taking all music on my cassettes, especially all my original stuff that's still on cassettes, and download it onto my hard drive. So I got somebody calling it, but I'm gonna send her a text. They don't know, these people that they don't know I'm doing a live stream. So anyhow, let me see. I missed some comments. Oh, let me see. CC Funk says a person can finish the best mix and the person they did it for will say they don't like it. Oh, that happens all the time. That happens all the time. I get that. I'll do something and they don't like it don't have enough bass, or I don't like my way my vocals sound, or I don't like the string sound. It happens all the time. This is the reason why mixing consoles. That's why this is one of the biggest things that like Andrew Sheps, believe it or not, Andrew Sheps, and I read between the lines when Andrew Sheps said that why did he start mixing in the box? He got tired of the recalls. And you and I know if you're working in a DAW and whatever plugins and everything, if the way you get your set in your DAW, you save it, you pull it back up, and it's gonna sound the exact way the exact way you saved it. In analog world, believe it or not, when you're dealing with gear, the console, based on the temperature, the time, the and everything else, can start to affect the way the console sound, or outboard gear. Real outboard gear can change the way it sounds all the time. The voltage, if you're running low, if you're in an area where the voltage is whatever, and you're not getting enough voltage to run all your outboard gear, it can affect. So he got tired of that. So that's why that was the main reason. And on top of that, with plugins, it's so much easier to buy plugins. You can buy, like if you get the Slate, you subscribe to Slate, you can practically all the outboard gear you want in plugin form. And there's so many other companies. Like I have the Slate All Access Pass. I also have the T-Rax Studio Pro. I have acoustic audio and I have Waves. So it's 1,200 plugins on this computer. I would say about outboard gear, I got about 80 pieces of outboard gear, but 1,200, that's a big difference in number. So, Steve Burke says, will this be posted later view? Yes. It's as I do these live streams, it's recording it so you can actually see it in case you want to, go back and see the beginning of the video in case so it is being recorded. I don't know how long it takes for YouTube to have it finished, for you to actually go back I don't know, maybe a couple hours, whatever, but it is, yeah, you'll be able to go back and watch the beginning of the video. What do I think about the Lindrum VST and the DMX drum? I like the Lindrum. I have a Lindrum on my computer over here. I have the Lindrum. It's called the Lindrum 7 and the Lindrum 9 on here. But I don't have a DMX drum machine VST. So, oh, right, Spencer, how hot the console was, how long the tubes have been on. I bore the temperature of the room that day. Yes, exactly. And the thing is, if you're running anything with tubes, you're supposed to let it because tubes require a lot of voltage. And so they will so I would say, like, right now, today, it's about only 12 degrees outside. So even though the heat's on and the gear's on, it's actually really, really cool in here. But on a given day, let's say it's 40, if it's 40 degrees outside, as an example, and it can only be 40 degrees, if I don't have any kind of air or anything going up here and all this gear, it'll be smoking in here. So if you ever been in a commercial studio and it always felt cool, they had the HVAC on because the gear gets extremely hot. You know, so a lot of people don't realize, yeah, big old Neve or an SSL or those big old consoles and all that outboard gear, you know, but let it not have any HVAC in that building. You're talking about, oh, it's ridiculously hot. This is the reason why they used to run a separate HVAC power room for the power supplies for those big consoles, because those jokers get hot, like real hot. So, so recording, I was talking about recording and mixing techniques. I want to talk just a little bit about that. Everyone has, I would say this, everyone has their music and genre of style of music they like to record and do. You know, some people are into EDM, some people are into country, some people are into rock, some people are into hip hop, and so forth. And I'm going to say your recording techniques are going to be based on your genre of music. So if you are recording like a band, especially like a country band or rock band or whatever, some of the two biggest important components would be microphones and preamps. You know, for those genres of music, because you're miking the drums, a lot of times you're miking guitar cabinets. You're, of course, recording vocals. Everyone's going to record vocals, but if you're doing EDM or hip hop music, a lot of stuff like that, a lot of times you don't. You don't need to have miking techniques for all the instruments, because most of that stuff is samples, drum machines, things like that. And a lot of that stuff is directly recorded into your software. So, but you could still get some bad recordings, especially, I think the biggest problem with digital recording to your DAW is recording stuff too hot. You know, so, yep. Let's see. Okay, let's see. This is, I saw a BA77 cost more than a real Neve 1073. How's that possible? What is the difference? And the difference of the okay, like SPX. Okay. Now, because you know, B stands for British Audio Engineering, right? If you didn't know that, yes, it stands for British Audio Engineering, BAE. For some odd reason, and it's just, you know, simply because I think this is just me, and this is just my opinion. Personally, I don't care how you look at it, they are an extremely overpriced clone company. If you really look at it, hands down, because the only thing that's authentic is actually the Neve, right? because everyone, if not, it wouldn't be called a BE 1073. It'd be his own name, like a BE, maybe a BA preamp 10, the 10 or whatever, or BA preamp 1. They called it 1073 because they know they cloned it, but their justification is because they're using high-end, top-of-line transformers, op amps, and all the circuit, and it's the one thing that's going to sound probably the most, and some people try to say it sounds just a little bit better than the Neve. So that's their justification of trying to sell. Let's say a Neve 1073 is $4,500. They're going to try to sell theirs for about $4,500, maybe $4,800, whatever. But personally, for me, if I want the Neve sound and I want to get it close, I want the actual Neve sound. If I'm going to spend that much money on a 1073, I'm getting the Neve, because the Neve is the Neve sound. I'm not going to get a BAE. And that's just me. Now, well, he said, how much did the transformers cost? Well, it depends on, because there's Jensen, there's Cinemag, there's a whole lot of different transformers. Some of the transformers, they don't even make anymore. But I would use like Warm Audio use Cinemax transformers. So, but there are so many clones out there that are a fourth of the cost. You're not gonna hear a BAE 1073 over the Neve, or even some of the clones out there. You're not going to hear the difference in the mix. It's too much stuff going on in the mix for you to isolate that. Was that an authentic Neve or is that a BAE? You're not going to hear it. You can't hear it. No one can hear it. Let me tell you, sometimes even with some people even when they're working on, let's say, the highest end consoles, because that's the concept of preamps was actually derived from actual consoles. They decided to use, they take the preamp sound out of a Neve and put it in his own 19-inch or 500 series rack. The preamp, the 1073 came out of an actual Neve console. That was the whole concept of that way, because the person if they bought a soundtracks console, but they wanted a Neve, they couldn't afford the Neve. Well, they would buy a preamp that came out of a Neve, and people would custom build them a rack module to get the Neve preamp sound. And that's how that whole outboard gear thing started anyway. We're going back to the 70s. So, but anyhow, yeah, let's see. Rupert, the BA is the closest original, so I'm told, but let's see, AMS. And they also said with the AMS Neve and their SPX and other Neves don't have the authenticity like the actual, classic Neve. Like if you went to a modern Neve 1073 preamp sound compared to an actual come out of a Neve 8078 console from the 70s, most people say, well, the character of those older consoles are irreplaceable. Anyway, but like I said, the BA is probably the most clone. Not the BA, the 1073 is probably the most clone preamp, hands down. Oh, he said Brent Everill engineer. I thought it stood for British Auto Engineering. That's what I got that from when I was watching Warren Hewitt. Warren Hewitt did a video and they said British Audio Engineering. The guy was saying BA, and he said, yeah, it stood for British Audio Engineering. I just watched that from a Warren Hewitt produced like a pro video. But you might be right. It might be Brent Everill Engineering. I just got that from Warren Hewitt watching. They said it stood for British Audio Engineering. So I would always say, because when I spit stuff out on here, don't mean I'm always 100% correct. So, but you're probably right. It probably is Brent Everill Engineering. It's okay. Let's see. Maddie says it's so hard to get tests. It's so hard to test this stuff unless you can measure correct. And like I said, with Oh, yes, so the Carnhill. Yeah, Carnhill is another name. Yeah, the Carnhill Transformers, stuff like that. It's the circuitry of it. But like I said, with the real Neve, like for example, they say if you get your hands on a real Neve 1073 or 1081 or whatever the case, those are super, super expensive. Just like with an actual Whirlpool Tech, an actual EQ, or an actual LA2A, all that stuff is super expensive. Universal Audio 1176. And we're talking to big heavy hitters out there. Even back in the day in the 80s, 90s, 70s, a large format SSL console would be about $1 million. So now you can find them used. Now you can find them used. Like I said, if you can find one, they're averaging $30,000 to $50,000 now. But most people just don't want a big, gigantic, large console in their studio like that, in their house. Most people can't fit a big, gigantic console in their house. So, he said there's basically nothing in LA2 is. They're basically empty. No, there's circuitry in them. There's tubes in them. Trust me. They're not empty. Just don't let that fool you. So there's an opto cell in there too. But no, there's tubes in them. I wanted to talk about recording. So a lot of times, what was another thing that got those, depending on your genre, the rooms. You see, I know, I'm just kidding. I tell you, it was empty. Most of the clones. Anyhow, I'm laughing, but anyhow, moving on. So, one of the biggest things that I learned when it comes to certain types of recording, the room sound and the space of the rooms, as well as the instruments in the room and all that, was a key portion to the recording. I was watching a video of Air Studios. They were doing they were filming them, an orchestra. Now I was listening to it. I was like, wow, just the way that orchestra sounded being recorded in Air Studios in their live room, which used to be a church. That is a hard beat sound. That is a hard sound to beat trying to do it in your house. To get that, especially from real musicians playing real violins, violas, cellos, and stuff like that, real instruments in a big room like that. And the microphones that are using to capture that in those spaces and through that Neve console, they had a VR console. That's hard to emulate. Oh, DLC, yeah, I think they were Carnhill. Yeah, Transformer, like I said, you got Cinemag, you had Vincent, Jensen, Carnhill. There's a lot of Transformer companies. But yeah, that's really, that's the reason why I've even with a lot of the gear that I bought, with some of the preamps like that I got, I noticed that the warmth improved big time with my setup, especially using the preamps that I got. So speaking of tools, I'm gonna tell you something, and this is not me. I'm not getting promoted. I'm not getting paid to promote this. But I was watching. I don't know if anyone out there watches the. Paul said before I talk about it, he said you're both right. BA originally was Brent Everett, then it became British Audio Engineering. That's what I thought. Thanks, Paul. The reason why I said British Audio Engineering because I watch, when I watch Warren Hewitt and he does these studio tours, and Warren Hewitt owns some BA 1073 preamps. He owns it. And he was doing an interview with someone who had some BA. He said, I'll have 3 or 4 of these. And he said, the guy said, yeah, BA, which means British Audio Engineering. So that's the reason why I remembered that. So, but anyhow, I was watching the video called, and it's called The Mic Assassin, a Microphone Assassin. And he was doing this, he does microphone shootouts and let you hear these microphones. And he said, man, he was blown away with the sound quality of these microphones. So I started researching more and more on this microphone for it to be under $100. I said, there's no way that microphone sounds that good to be under $100. And it's the microphone I'm using right now. I'm using it for this live stream. So I bought a few of them from, it's basically an AKG. If you can see it. Looks like an AKG, but it just don't have the polar patterns. And we used the, I have a friend of mine, his name was Grover. Back in the 90s, he used to get this AKG C414. So I know what it sounds like. I was super impressed for this to sound 90, I would say a good 90% close to an actual AKG microphone. You just don't have the polar pattern, but I always record mostly in cardio anyway, which is preset to cardio. That's most of my settings. I bought this microphone and I was so impressed. And I did a track miking my guitar cabinet over here with 2 pair of these Pro R. This is the Pro R C414, and I was really impressed with it. These things are only $79 on Amazon. So he said, Grover Washington Jr., really? Really, DL? You're going to say Grover Washington Jr.? Really? You know Grover Washington Jr. died in 2001, right? One of my favorite saxophone players. So, but anyhow, no, I'm talking about my friend Grover. His name is Grover Chambliss. He's another recording and mixing engineer and a really good friend of mine. We talk all the time. And so a lot of times he listens to the podcast. That's the Grover I'm talking about. So anyhow, so going back, I was really impressed with that microphone. I ended up getting a few of them. Oh, you didn't know? Oh, you didn't know? Yeah, Grover. Yeah. For people that don't know who Grover Washington Jr. is, he played mostly tenor saxophone. He's the one that's doing the saxophone part on Just the Two of Us with him and Bill Withers. Just the two of us, you know. That's him. That's Grover Washington Jr. But my friend is named Grover Chambliss. So if you probably, yeah. So imagine just never heard of him. Never heard of Grover Washington. All you got to do is YouTube. Grover Washington Jr. So welcome Tracklight. That's it. Welcome Tracklight Productions. Rest in peace. Yeah, that was, you know, the thing is, if for those that don't know, like when Grover, you know, how he died was he was performing, and he had just got finished performing at a show. It was a TV show, and he had just got finished performing, and oh, he said 99. Okay, that's right. Yeah, it was 99. It was 99, not 2001, 99. I knew it was around that time frame. So anyhow, Grover was performing, and they had just got finished performing, and he went to the back, you know, and he collapsed. And so, and of course, you know, because he died of a heart attack. And that was like, man. So yeah, I just listen to Grover all the time. A lot of his music. A lot of my favorite musicians have passed. So many of them. So I'm running out of all the musicians that I listen to. They're all passing away. Which is, man. But that's yeah. So rest in peace. Yeah, Bill Withers passed away too. Yeah, he passed away. A lot of artists that I listen to passed away. Luther Vandross passed away. The lead singer from Dino from H-Town. He died in 2003 of a car accident. 2007, Tony Thompson from the group Hi-Fi, he OD'd. It's so many now. The Whispers, Scotty and all that. Well, the Whisper, they were twin brothers. He passed away. I mean, it's the Whispers is pretty much because it was twin brothers. So it's just one member, and but that's Roger Troutman passed away. His brother shot him around that same time for 99. And Roger Troutman, they're from my hometown. Yeah, D'Angelo, he's another one that just passed away, and it was tragic because they had some him. D'Angelo used to date. He used to date Angela. I'm drawing a blank. She got killed. I think she was murdered. Everyone thinks she was murdered. She used to be the singer in Angie Stone. That's right, Angie Stone. And she started, with that Vertical Hold. Seems you're much too busy for me. I can't stand it. That when they was with Vertical Hold, but yeah, it's a lot of them. Chris Cornell, it's a lot. Dio's asking, he said, imagine the stress that they are under, having to travel all over the world, pay your bills, how much traveling, lodging, taking out your earnings, how much are. Yeah, it's I mean, if you go back, the topic goes deep because I don't think it's taught or stressed enough. It's kind of like, like even when Michael Jackson died, Michael Jackson died in 2009, Prince died in 2016. I mean, it's so many. I mean, the one, for Whitney Houston to die in drowning in that hotel, just, yeah, it's just, man, but I sit there and watch all my favorite, and knowing a lot of them are gone away. Even the lead singer from Starpoint, Renee Diggs, she's a singer from Starpoint. She died in 2005. It's just like, wow. But let's see. Oh, thanks. He said the studio looks spitfire. Did you read? No, not really. Man, this studio's I'm really bad. And you only see one angle of it. I'm still trying to clean up cords and I got, it just, this room is too small for all this gear. Yeah, I went a little overboard. So that was my gas issue, buying, gas acquisition syndrome of buying gear. Oh, is that an Orban EQ above the yeah. And those are actually the Clark Techniques, but yeah, I'll tell you what's in that EQ rack. Well, this center rack behind me, below all these right here, until you get to, let me see if I can get my finger right here, all the way down to the Universal Audio 610 preamp. Those are all preamps from above it, above the Orban. Then that's an Orban 621. Then I got a pair of the Behringer EQs. Then I got an Ashley parametric EQ. I have another Orban. It's just a single channel 7-band graphic EQ right here that was in the rack. Then I have that's an Affix 2-channel EQ, and then those are the Clark Technic Pultec style EQs. But I also have more EQs in the rack over here, in this rack right here. I got a few more EQs in this rack over here. Not a whole lot, but just a few more. So I like yeah, those are the PEQ 2000. That's exactly what, yeah, you're yeah, you know your gear. Oh, did I put the output transformers in the Behringers? No. I heard about that trick. I haven't got around to it yet. I heard it does something to them. But I never got around to doing that. So what was I saying? Oh yeah. Welcome, Ogilla Pix. Oh, Jerry Garcia passing hit. Yeah, it's kind of like it's so many. It's so many. We've lost. I mean, a lot. Even from I would just listen to "Come Again," your favorite song. Then find 100 ways. That was that's and I gotta look up because I'm drawing a blank. I was just listening to this track. He had passed away a few years ago. Let me pull him up right quick. 100 ways. James Ingram. James Ingram is another one. Now, Jeffrey Osborne is not dead. It says, y'all talking about my question here. Do banks give loans to people that want to open a commercial studio, commercial lease? Well, it's like anything else, depending on your credit and your collateral. Because to open up a commercial studio, we're talking it depends on if you're going to run a single live room and a single control room recording studio, which means you can only book one artist or band or whatever. But there are some studios, so I would say I would average the cost. A live room, control room with all your gear and wiring and ground and all that stuff on a commercial level, I would say each live room, control room would run you about $1 million on a commercial level. If we're talking that big name. So if you're like Blackbird, who's got 9 control rooms / live rooms, then you do the cost 9 to 10,000. Plus, I would say Blackbird with all the gear and everything else and all the money he's made from his, the money he's made plus all the money his wife has made, so she's Martina McBride. He's probably got an easy $100 million in studio build cost and gear. Easy. The microphones that he got is just we'll cover the cost. The top of the microphones he got in his studio will cover the cost of I've spent for everything I spent in this room by itself. So back to this, it looks like I just need a few more racks and Well, I'm debating to buy racks, but I want to do is I want to custom build racks. Is what they're 19 inches, so naturally, but I'm looking to buy the wood and all that and build and custom build some racks. So, all right. Let's see. Dia says, "Can I get a loan to start a record company?" While we're talking about dreams. Yeah, you can start a record company with no money. So let's see. Let me see. Jeffrey, I'll say Jeremy from the okay. Yeah, it's a lot. It's just a lot of people that we lost. Uh, so, oh yeah, you told me you had $1 million. Oh, easy. Um, no, I don't have any 500 series gear. If I had really jumped on the 500 series, I was always afraid. People always you hear this rumors and stories about one or two pieces of 500 gear in your rack and you're okay. But when you start loading all your 500 racks, your racks up with 500 gear, because they're sharing the power supply. Most of those 500 rack series are being underpowered, so they don't sound as good. This is the rumor, but I don't know I don't know how accurate that is because so many studios got 500 series gear. So I don't know how accurate it is. That's just what I've heard. Um, oh yeah. So oh yeah, it says easy million. Oh yeah, it's easy. I mean, you'd be amazed $100,000 just in cable. Easy. So have I fooled with Universal Audio's Luna? I have. I do have Luna. I haven't done enough. I haven't done enough projects in Luna simply because Luna's when it was being launched, especially for PC, it was it just kept having a little bitty glitches. Like when I first started Luna, like for one, it just no matter what you did, it would not get the my MIDI controller, and I have the Arturio Keylab, it would not work right. It just I'm sitting there, and then finally, as you keep updating Luna, they keep fixing all these things. They say now Luna is a ton better, but I just haven't opened it up because one other thing that was happening with my Luna is I would open up Luna, and when I would mess around, and for some odd reason, every time I close Luna, then all of a sudden my internet connection would just go away. Which I'm like, it would only do that when I open up Luna. So it was always a little thing here and there. So the DAWs that I was mostly working the most is I usually use Cakewalk, Studio One. I play around in Reaper from time to time. I mess around in Harrison Mix Bus. I might jump on Ableton Live. I have the Ableton Live. I don't have the full version. I just have the light. And I might mess around with some of the other dolls, but those are the main ones. Mostly Studio One and Cakewalk. I do have an older version because this is an older Mac, so I do have a Logic Pro, the old one, on here. But as I upgrade, I'm going to upgrade and get me a more powerful Mac with an M2 or M3 chip. Then I'm going to get the latest Logic Pro. So because Logic Pro, I already know Logic Pro is a beast as well. I just never felt in paying that kind of money to dive into Pro Tools. I just always thought that paying that kind of money to go to Pro Tools when you get the same results from the other DAWs, I just never, And most of the people that I know that was using Pro Tools, they don't even use Pro Tools no more. They went back to other DAWs like Studio One, and some people have went to Reaper, and some have gone to Logic Pro. They just went to other DAWs, and some have started using Luna. So, but it is what it is. Oh, Matt, yeah. Tracklight says, well, I like it, but I wish it had the ability to save like other dolls instead of non-traditional way to keep it. Luna. I mean, I do like the layout, like especially where you can. How can I describe? Where you go to the mixer view and you can set up, and that's one portion where you insert for some of the plugins that you get from UA, and you could turn every channel into an API desk or the Neve if you get those plugins for Luna. I like that, but I'm still you gonna make me now. I'm gonna have to jump into Luna and just make sure. I'm gonna have to look at it again because I hadn't opened it up in a while. It was glitching on me. It was just too glitchy for me. So Tracklight said I stopped supporting Avid Pro Tools 2024 tend to only keep it. Yeah, it's just I think especially when Pro Tools tried to extort their customers by saying, "Well, we're not going to help you if you don't pay our $99 a month mandatory subscription. We might even turn off your song." This I don't like that. You know, um, even though millions of people have got into the Pro Tools because it became an industry standard, universal DAW. But I just never could. I couldn't do it. um, I couldn't do it. So let me see. Oh, and Maddie says you have a buddy that bought a $100,000 API. I would love to spend $100,000 on the API, but I don't have $100,000 to spend on a console like that. Even though APIs are stellar, whether it's the API 2448 or the API 1604, API 1608, an API legacy desk, something like that. But I don't have that. Yeah, API is big money. So, do I like Luna over Mixbus? I like Luna's layout over Mixbus, but I know Mixbus better, so I can do tracks in Mixbus. Because the console, which is basically a digital version of a Harrison console, but I know consoles. I've always worked on analog consoles, so I prefer to work on any DAW that can make their console look like an actual analog console as much as possible. I prefer that, meaning your preamp section, your filtering, your EQ, your auxiliaries, setting up buses and all that, because your DAWs generally work like the mixers, whether people notice or not. They're programmed to operate and sound like and function like actual mixing analog consoles. Most people just don't know that. That's why a lot of times I always said, if you set your DAW up, especially your mixing window, set up your bus sound, your buses, your auxiliaries, and you do everything like you are working on a real console, you'll be amazed how much more your mixes will start to sound like the pro stuff. But the DAWs that make these DAWs don't tell people. They just sell you the software. You're supposed to automatically know that. And I can imagine stuff would be more pricey in Australia simply because Australia, is basically a gigantic island, so everything has to be ported in. It's a continent, and everything has to be ported in. Especially if you come from Europe or the United States. So Rice says Tracklight Production, that's the version I'm on. Once you have a stable system, okay, gotcha. So the loose caboose says, do I have any videos of me mixing? I don't have any in-depth mixing. I did one video a long time ago of me mixing on ADATs, but I don't have any in-depth mixing videos. I guess I never really had a demand for it. I haven't really set up a video system set up to actually where I can show people, I guess what I'm saying is you watch, like, let's say Mix with the Master. Let's say there's Crystal Algae's doing a mixing session. He'll show you how he's mixing like Carrie Underwood's vocals or what example. And they have different camera angles and so forth. But he has a few other people helping him, just like with Warren Hewitt. Warren Hewitt has a couple other people helping him. And for me, it's just me. So, let's see. Oh, gotcha. Okay. So yeah, that's my thoughts on. I still want to do an in-depth mixing video. I just got to figure out how to do it. So, Maddie too says I can make music on cheap because I ain't got nothing back. Okay, gotcha. So like I said, I'm gonna wrap. I gotta make this short because I am still mixing. I still gotta mix. Finish mixing, and So I'm not gonna make a very, very long session. Um, it's been an hour going on an hour and 20 minutes, and I was gonna make this a short session. Um, so uh there's Grover. So for there, so people that want to know that was the people was talking about. I was telling you my buddy named Grover, and not Grover Washington Jr. Like it was, he just chimed in. He listens from time to time, so y'all see he just popped up. He's giving the thumbs up. So that's the Grover. That's who I'm talking about. Yeah, that's the other mixing producer engineer that I'm talking about. So and Coffee says, "Hey, dude, I see you have an Aphex unit back there. I have a few. I have an Aphex EQ here. I got an Aphex gate in this rack over here, and I also got an Aphex Aura Exciter in the rack. I like the Aphex EQ. It's not as in depth. It has a nice. It's not too harsh on the high end. Yeah, the Aphex 204. Yep, that's what I have. The Aphex 204 Aura Exciter, right there, my shoulder here. But it's a really nice EQ. Aphex Aura Exciter. Those work really well, especially on drums, on an Aura Exciter. I've tried listening to them vocals from time to time. I'll run anything through any of my equipment just to see if I like the way it sounds. Oh yeah. Also, Aphex Studio Color, Aphex Studio Dominator. I have an Aphex Studio Dominator. That is basically a multi-band. It's a multi-band compressor, basically limiter. That is, I learned that from. There was an LA studio that was running that. Yeah, the Dominator. Let's see, I have the Dominator, first one. I want to get the Dominator. There's the Dominator. Let me see. I think it was version, but the Dominator. That was a studio. That's a studio secret. Just like with the another one. If y'all want to really hear, like I have another piece of gear that I got I got some BBE Sonic Maximizers, and I have the BB 362, and I have the BB Sonic Maxer 422A. I also have a BB Sonic Maxer 822 downstairs. Let me tell you, those are pieces of gear those pieces of gear are like studio secrets. If you really want to hear, like for example, the let's say you want to hear what I'm talking about when it comes to the maximizer, the 422A. There's a guy called Dr. Mix on YouTube. He demonstrates the BBE Sonic Maximizer 422A, so you can hear it for yourself. Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, I like the one that you can, it's kind of like anything, you can overdo anything really. No, I haven't tried the Compeller yet, which is basically Aphex. It's the Aphex Compeller. I think is their version of their compressor. The Compeller. I've seen them, but I haven't tried it. I don't own one. But like I said, with the Studio Dominator, that's like a multi-band limiter. It's it's kind of like that way you can even out high end and low end, because that's another thing when you deal with compressors. They can accentuate, compressors can also accentuate EQ problems when you use a compressor. Let's say you make up gain on a like 1176, and you can boost high end, and you can make compressors make your mixes sound harder than they need to be. But stuff like that multi-band limiter and believe it or not, Greg Wells shows this. I have he said that's another mixing secret, is using a multi-band limiter, multi-band compressor too. Oh yeah, yeah. That sums it all really. I haven't, like I said, I haven't tried a Compeller yet. I've seen them, but I just haven't. Gotcha. Okay. The Loose Caboose says it's like when Fresh Air just dropped. My buddy sent me a mix. I was like, "Did you just get the slate package?" Laughing out loud. Right? I got you. Okay. Coffee says it also makes the sound. It also makes sounds bigger without squashing out. Gotcha. Like I said, I've been using it a lot. I've been using that audio, that Studio Dominator for years. So, but like I said, the first one, I know the 2 and the 3, the newer ones are even more approved. So I was looking for a newer version, Studio Dominator. That's another studio secret. Oh, CC Fun said, I've seen Dr. Mix. Yeah, have you seen Dr. Mix? He's got a video that says he demonstrates the Sonic Maximizer 422A. Listen to it, and it does, yeah, because I got one. It's smooth. So let's see what else. That's gonna do it because I haven't even eaten dinner. And it's 9 something here. I haven't even eaten dinner. And it's freezing today. It is only 12 degrees. So, but I'm gonna try to go get something to eat because I gotta jump back on these mixes. All the symmetrics in the back, also coffee. Or it looks like a symmetrics, but you talking about the Ashley EQ. So I will do another video tour. I would do another video tour update of what I got. And these racks, because a lot of times when you watch the video, you can see what's behind me. These racks, a lot of people don't even see these racks. You know, they just see the gear over here. Like for example, I'll kind of, for example, I got a pair of the well, on top of that is the Personas Bluetooth. That's actually a really nice preamp by Personas Bluetooth. But I don't get me started on Personas, especially when it comes to their gear, because they always discontinue their gear, and their gear be so good. And I'm like, why y'all? I don't know why Personas, they would make something and they just discontinue it. And I'm like, why do y'all do that? Especially some of their preamps. But I do have a pair of the Tone Beasts by Warm Audio. Those are stellar. I learned about the Tone Beast because of Joe Correll when he was doing his demonstrating the Tone Beast. They're exactly how Joe Correll describes those Tone Beasts. That's why I got 2 of them. I have a pair of the Arc Pro channels. I have 3 of the Altron, which are Need 1073 clones. I have 2 of the Avalon 737 preamps. Below those are the Persona Studio channels. And then I got a pair of Art Pro preamps. Then I got an Aphex preamp. The only thing with my Aphex preamp is the Aphex 109. The problem is one of the channels are a little scratchy, which those are, I was kind of like, it is what it is. So when it makes it weird. So that's why I don't use it enough. Then at the very bottom is this Behringer's, the 1950. It's supposed to be their vintage series preamp, but it doesn't have any color to it. So I don't use it. It don't have any. It's just a preamp. It sounds really, really basic. Then the next one is a Joe Meek preamp. So the next one is a Joe Meek preamp. So it's basically a channel strip. Then I got it's called the Vocal. It was called the Ultra Voice by Behringer. It's one of the first pieces of gear that I bought years ago, bought in 2008. Well, no, I ain't gonna say one of the first, but I bought it back in 2008. And I was really diving into preamps, and I just didn't think it sounded any good until I actually learned how to use it properly. And it's actually a way better preamp than I thought. So that's why I still got it. I got another Joe Meek is a channel, then I got a Universal Audio 610 preamp. Then I got, like I said, with the EQs, I got some EQs here, like with the Orban, then a pair of the Behringer PEQs, the Ashley 2-channel Parametric EQ over here, another Aphex EQ, And then, of course, those are Clark Technique Pultec style EQs. Then I got the 3 of the Lintec. You can't see because my big bald head. The Lintec, those are Pultec style EQs. I got 3 of those. And then I have the next below that's just my that's all my rack full of effects. I got the Roland SRV 2000. I got a Yamaha Rev 7 in there, a TC Electronics. I got the Yamaha XPX 90. I got the Behringer Virtualizer Pro. I have a Lexicon MX 200 then I have a Digitech vocal harmonizer. And then below that is the MPX, it's the Lexicon MPX1. I also have on top is the TC Electronics, and then of course that's what's all in those racks. Then on these racks, I got a pair of the Alesis 3630 compressors. And then below that is a pair of Clark Technique 76s, a pair of the Lintec 76s. Then I got 3 of the ARP Pro VLA compressors. Got the DBX 166. I got the Composer, another Behringer, 3 Behringer compressors, some gates. Then I got another Alesis 30 CLX 440. That's my audio interface, another audio interface. Then I got some more EQs, the graphic EQ, the Rain. Then that's where my Sonic Maximizers, the Aura Exciter, the Studio Dominator, then the Clark Technique, but I upgraded those with the Black Lion Audio TB4 Opto 2 upgrades in those Clark Technique. That's what I use on vocals. Then I got the Lintec Lin 2A. I use those. I got those on bass. So that's a lot of the gear that I got. Other than that, of course, the Allen Heath console. And also, you can't see it. My other Orban EQ is the Orban, this is 674. I also got the Behringer 369. That's my master bus compressor, is the Behringer 369. Then I also got 4 rows of the PreSonus ACP compressor. They have 8 compressors and gates. I got those on every channel to act like if you ever seen the SSL console, they have an SSL console would have the preamp, the EQ, then they would have a compressor gate section. Well, I'm treating that the same way with these PreSonus. It's a studio trick that I learned. So I got those on each one of those channels. And other than that, I got my ADATs over there. And of course, under my patch bay over there, that's where my audio interface and my at least hard disk recorder and all that stuff is over there. So I had to do a studio tour. I just kind of went really quick on that. I do have some more gear downstairs. Like I do have the Heritage Audio 73 preamp and another Focusrite preamp downstairs with some more 3630s and some more interface stuff like downstairs. But and of course the studio monitors, I recently just switched to the Kali Audio. These are the IN8 Kali Audios. Those are really, really good. They're $499 each. You can't, for those quality, those are really exceptional studio monitors, 3-way monitors. And then of course the ones I'm working on now is the Atom A8Hs. I just picked those up. So, and I can't even go to the list of microphones. I'm probably missing so much stuff. Somebody says, someone said I look like, I think I saw somebody pop in there, look like I'm more gear than Home Depot. Oh yeah, Matthew. What's funny, I would sit there and say, yeah, I'm probably one of the most equipped home recording studios out there. There's people at home studios that they're more than me, believe it or not. So, Coffee said, what I have back there is a list of Bucket Dream out. I appreciate. I'm telling you, I don't know. With so much of like a lot of the plugins are really good now. You probably don't need to invest in so much outboard gear because I do run into, there are some issues that I run into. Like I do run into some noise issues on, so you have to really be careful. But I'm in the intensive of building my star ground system now, to eliminate a lot of that noise, because it's just because that's what happens with gears, noise. That was a big commercial studio's biggest problems were noise. And so I'll see if I say I was going to ask which EQ. Yeah, like I said, I had my Orban 674. Like I said, I recently picked up the Ashley because, yeah, I heard stellar things about those EQs. So, the Behringer, yeah, the Ultra Voice. So, welcome, David. Let's see. Yeah, the Behringer. Yeah, the Behringer Ultra Voice. I'll demonstrate it. You know what I'll do is I'll pull it over here one day and let y'all actually hear it on another product, so you can actually hear it. It's actually a lot better than, if some people, Behringer. Yeah, it's actually a lot better than most people give it credit. So I had to demonstrate it. You'll be impressed. Trust me. You'll be impressed with it. I was like, oh, this is actually better than I thought. So thanks, man. He said I do it well. Thanks. I appreciate it. So yeah, the Ultra Voice. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, it's really the Behringer Ultra Voice. They call it Ultra Voice, but it's basically a channel strip. It's a preamp, compressor, EQ with a de-esser, so forth. It's supposed to have a vintage mode to make it sound more vintage. I don't know how well it does it, but overall, I'll demonstrate it. One last thing before I go. I don't know if y'all remember, I did a video a long time ago about the Art 2 Mix. It's the Art 2 Mix. So what I'm using now, I switched up my setup. I'm using the Art 2 Mix right now. This is USB going into the computer. That's what I'm using right now. And the microphone I'm using right now is the ProR C414. So if you want to know what this microphone sounds like, I've been using it for the live stream. So that's going to do it. And I'm using, of course, the Art 2 Mix because it does have tubes in this. Other than that, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. And we're going to, he said, are you holding a $1,200? No, this is, let me tell you, this microphone looks like the AKG C414, but it's not. It's not an AKG. It's made by ProR or Barfelli. It's only $79 on Amazon. The reason why did I buy them? I watched the Microphone Assassin demonstrate, and I was super impressed. There's no way in the world you can get AKG C414 sound, and it's like, yeah, you can. That microphone sounds. I was like, wow. So I already tested out on my guitar cabinet. I was like impressed. I'm like, yeah, that's a solid buy. So the Microphone Assassin, he demonstrates the ProR. It's called the ProR, PROAR C414. This is probably one of the best sounding microphones for under $100 I have ever seen. And it looks like an AKG C414. It sounds just as good. So other than that, that's going to do it. So that's going to do it for this live stream, and we'll see you next time. And Christmas is coming up, so I hope people are going to get what they want for Christmas, whatever you're looking to get. And I wish everyone happy holidays for the ones that may not tune in the next, if I be able to do this live stream again next week. For the ones that, other than that, if we don't see you again, Merry Christmas and happy holidays. And we're going to see you on the next time. Other than that, thanks for everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.